Howdy once again everyone, and to celebrate the end of 2024, I thought it might be fun to give out some end of year award things once again, which seems like a nice way to sum the year up. These are awards for the best lenses I've tested over the past year. This year was fairly eventful on my channel and I had a lot of fun actually. There have been a lot of big camera announcements and new camera reviews, not to mention over 100 new lens reviews from all different manufacturers, as well as one or two miscellaneous videos as well. And that's not to mention the many exclusive videos just for Patreon supporters. I've done a load more street photography than last year as well. I spent most of last year up in North Wales doing landscape work, but recently I've been doing a ton of testing down in Cardiff, particularly at night time for some of the more bokeh-tastic lenses. And as usual, these awards are not to be taken too seriously. No fanboys in the comment section, okay everyone? Last year there were fanboys even though I stipulated no fanboys. Also, I can only include lenses I've actually tested in this video. Of course, there are probably a few that have slipped through the net here and there, and also there are links to my full reviews in the description below, as well as affiliate links if you'd like to buy one which supports this channel a little bit, which is always awesome. First up, my favourite zoom lens of the year. I was thinking of choosing the new Sony 28-70 f2 for this category, but unfortunately I haven't had a chance to test it out yet. A review for it is coming soon though. I was also thinking about the Canon RF 24-105mm f2.8 for this category, as it is absolutely groundbreaking and still really quite nice and sharp, but honestly it's just too big and heavy for anything other than professional work in my opinion. So I have settled on the new Sigma 28-105mm f2.8. I loved it. You still get that handy zoom range and bright maximum aperture, but at a much lower price than the Canon lens and a much smaller size, and it's still pretty sharp. It's a shame it can only zoom out as wide as 28mm, still an incredibly useful lens, and it's great to see Sigma continuing their tradition of pushing the limits of optical design here. Next, the best telephoto lens I tested this year, and there have been some fantastic contenders this time. I wasn't much of a fan of the Canon 200-800mm lens, although it obviously has great potential. The runner-up definitely has to be the incredible Fuji GF 500mm f5.6. I've never tested a medium format telephoto lens before, but this little monster blew me away. Great reach, stunning bokeh, brilliant image stabilization, and most of all, absolutely incredible sharpness, and the lens isn't even all that big and heavy. But the winner had to be the incredible Nikon Z 400mm f2.8 TC-VRS. The TC in the title stands for teleconverter, and the process of flipping that inbuilt 1.4 times teleconverter in and out of position is just about as satisfying as, well, doing a really big sneeze while simultaneously driving over a humpback bridge, which is to say very satisfying indeed. This lens has everything a pro would ever need: lightning fast autofocus, great image stabilization, a bright aperture, and images flooded with bottomless sharpness and contrast. Boy, is it expensive at $13,000, but I definitely think this is the most enjoyable super telephoto lens ever made, and paired with a newer Nikon camera with their latest autofocus capabilities, it's going to be unstoppable for any kind of professional telephoto work. Next up, my favourite wide-angle lens, and there were some absolute stars this year, from the awesome Canon 10-20mm f4, the great value Laowa 10mm f2.8, and the very enjoyable 7 Artisans 10mm f2.8 Mark II fisheye. But if I had to pick one, then for its sheer crazy audacity, the Sigma 15mm f1.4 Art fisheye lens has to come in first place. There's just nothing else quite like it. It's a big, expensive monster of a lens, but its wonderful low light capability and razor sharpness make it a dream for astrophotography, indoor photography, or even more artistic work. It's definitely one of the most creative lenses of the year, and it solidifies Sigma's reputation as one of the world's most ambitious and creative designers of camera lenses. Next, the year's best low-budget lens. Loads of great offerings hitting the market this year to cover all kinds of needs. The previously mentioned 7 Sands 10mm f2.8 Mark II fisheye is actually fantastic value and very good quality if you're on the market for something a bit different. And if you want to go wide but don't want fisheye, then the 7 Sands and Brighton Star 9mm full frame lenses are very sharp with a record-breakingly wide angle. The TT Artsan 50mm f1.4 is the best value for money tilt shift lens ever made, I reckon, so if you fancy doing some really creative tilt shift photography, then that'll be a very nice option for you as well. Honestly though, I think the very best low budget lens of the year has to be the little Viltrox autofocus 56mm f1.7, an APS-C camera lens on Fuji X and Sony E. It may only be an APS-C lens, but it packs a little punch with autofocus and great image quality for only $140, a brilliant portrait option for owners of APS-C cameras and the definition of a fun little value lens. And now, the weirdest or most unusual lens of the year, and I like weird lenses. The Sigma 15mm f1.4 fisheye lens was a heck of an ambitious design, as well as Tamron's very interesting full-frame 17 to 50mm lens, which was really enjoyable to shoot with, although not the sharpest optic ever made. The Petzval 55mm f1.7 Mark II bokeh control lens is something else really unique, but I'll be talking about that one a bit more in a later category. And the Samyang Remaster Slim lenses are a bold experiment from them, which perhaps didn't quite go to plan in the end. Overall though, I think my favourite weird lens this year has to be the Thypok Eureka 50mm f2. It's nice to see a brand new manufacturer hitting the scene with something a bit different. The lens's neat collapsible design is inspired by the original collapsible 50mm lenses that started to hit the market all the way back in 1925, leaving a design that looks incredibly neat and unique. It also saves room, because without an adapter on the back, the lens is indeed very tiny. Ceci n'est pas un objectif. Someone had fun designing this thing. Next, the most bokeh-tastic lens of the year. I've tested loads of bright aperture lenses this year, including an f1.25 portrait lens on a medium format camera. That was pretty incredible. But this year, I want to recognise a lens that's a bit different, and honestly, I absolutely could not get enough of the Petzval 55mm f1.7 Mark II lens with bokeh control. Seriously, there is nothing else like it in the world for getting the swirliest out-of-focus backgrounds you could possibly imagine, even offering you that swirly effect on otherwise quite two-dimensional scenes. It's quite a weird lens to handle, but its results are just crazy once you get used to it, and if I was more involved in more creative still shooting and video making than I am, then I would definitely be getting one of these. And next, the video I lost the most money making. This award is always fun, I never seem to learn from it though. Anyway, you won't be surprised to hear that my YouTube channel does make money. It makes enough of a profit for me to live and to give, especially thanks to my Patreon supporters. I make no apology for that, because otherwise, making all these sponsorship-free reviews for everyone just wouldn't be possible, and the channel wouldn't even exist. This work takes up a lot of my time. An honourable or dishonourable mention here goes to my review of an awesome and very strange little lens which I'd been wanting to test out for absolutely years, the very interesting Fujifilm 60mm f2.4 macro. It's currently a Patreon exclusive video, but it'll eventually hit the main channel too, and I loved that lens. I tested a boxed mint copy of it that I found on eBay for £300, which seemed like a bargain at the time, but when I was ready to sell it on again, eBay was suddenly flooded with the flippin' things, and I had to sell it on again for under £200, so I seriously doubt that that video will go into profit. But the biggest loss last year was a passion project of mine that I never expected to really make any money at all, and that was my special Tech Moan style video all about my favourite music format of all time, the Sony Minidisc, inspired by Techmoan and also by the technology journalism work done by my late father, as well as a strong personal connection and knowledge of that format. I made a special 40-minute long video about this quirky audio format, which was way ahead of its time when it came out, including sourcing and looking at the oldest and newest players that were ever made, as well as some of the rarer and more expensive discs themselves, as well as how to take them apart and decorate them in unusual and rather extreme ways. It was a lot of fun, but I was working on a video over the course of about 9 months or so, and with all the buying and selling of equipment on eBay, I definitely lost a few £100 overall, but do I care? Absolutely not. I'm so passionate about those little things, and I'm delighted with how the video finally turned out. Link in the description below if you're interested. And now the worst lens of the year. A couple of quite weak lenses get a special mention here. The Maker Autofocus 85mm f1.4 and the Pergear 100mm f2.8 macro were both really quite disappointing. They definitely needed a lot more work from their respective manufacturers before being put to market. The worst lens I reviewed was a legacy lens though, the old Tamron 28-80mm f3.5 to 5.6. Available nowadays for just 20 quid on eBay. The question I set out to answer was, how bad could a legacy lens possibly be? And the answer was, almost unusable, and my review of it was a wasteland of negativity. But it was still kind of fun to take a look at why 30-year-old budget lenses had such a reputation at the time for being so bad in the first place. Okay, next up, the People's Choice Award as voted for on my channel community page, although the casting vote went to my Patreon supporters. This year, loads of people suggested and voted for the Viltrox 75 and 27mm f1.2 lenses, and for the Nikon Plena as well. Amazing lenses for sure, but they came out in 2023. Wrong year, guys. It came down to a contest between 3 amazing zoom lenses, the Sigma 28-45 1.8, Sigma 28-105 2.8, and Canon 24-105 2.8. And over on Patreon, it was the Sigma 28-105 that ended up winning out, and that was also the lens that got the most votes on my channel community page. So the people have well and truly spoken. Congratulations, Sigma. This lens is turning out to be a real winner this year. And finally, the always controversial sharpest lens of 2024, well, that I tested anyway. Plenty of great contenders here, and honourable mentions go to the Nikon Z 85mm f1.2s, which was pretty spectacular, as well as the Sony 85mm f1.4 GM Mark II. Loads of very sharp lenses hitting the market this year, including nice sharp optics from Canon and Sigma as well, and the new Tamron 90mm macro lens is ridiculously sharp as well, even on an APS-C camera. But after going through my hard drives and re-examining my test results, there are 2 particularly incredible lenses which are gonna come in joint first place, I think. The sharpest wide-angle lens that I tested this year was the incredibly expensive Leica APO Summicron SL 28mm f2. At $5,000, it's the most expensive wide-angle lens I think I've ever encountered, but it offers 60 megapixels of nothing but powerful sharpness and contrast from corner to corner straight from f2. I've never seen anything like it. And likewise, on a telephoto side of things, the aforementioned Nikon Z 400mm f2.8 TC-VRS is ridiculously sharp as well, simply crazy, even with its built-in teleconverter in place. Contrast and resolution abounded on this one, which is appropriate considering its rather high price as well. It really is my absolute favourite telephoto lens in the world, and one of the sharpest ever made. However, those 2 are slightly older lenses now. Actually, they came out a while ago. I only just got round to reviewing them. So the true prize goes to the Fuji GF 500mm f5.6, because that is a lens which actually came out this year. It is the sharpest medium format lens I have ever tested, resolving 100 megapixels of detail in its images from corner to corner, and managing to be virtually as sharp even with a teleconverter attached to it, with plenty of contrast too. That thing is simply amazing. Okay, well, that's it for this year. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for the support, and I look forward to the usual chaos in the comment section down below. Oh, I'm just kidding. Feel free to duke it out as much as you like. I don't mind, really. Have a great Christmas, everyone. God bless you guys and gals, and here's to a very exciting 2025.